What sounds like fiction, but is actually a real historical event. The owner and bartender of a bar once tried to take out an insurance policy on one of their alcoholic customers with one of their friends in an attempt to make some fast cash. They immediately opened his tab up, hoping he would drink himself to death. That didn't work, so they began spiking his unlimited drinks with antifreeze. That didn't work, so they decided to pump carbon monoxide into his apartment one night. He still wouldn't die. They then beat him savagely and put him in the back of their car to bury him in a rural area. Halfway out there, they heard noises coming from the trunk of the car. He still hadn't died, and when they stopped and got him out, he began walking away under his own power. It took 3 times being hit with a car to finally kill him. That man may be the closest thing we've ever had to a superhero. Edit. Since posting I've been made aware that his name was Michael Malloy, if anyone wants to read further about his story. The many defenestrations of Prague. Starting a war by throwing diplomats out the window is almost straight out of 300. The London beer flood of 1814. https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/london_beer_flood. When one vat of beer at Mewk's co-brewery exploded, it proceeded to cause a domino effect of other vats to also burst, causing a tidal wave that flooded a neighborhood, leaving crumbled homes in its path as well as 8 people dead and dozens injured. The entire Taiping Rebellion. A war started by a Chinese peasant who dreamed and believed he was Jesus' younger brother. Although poor, the first thing he did was have a giant demon-slaying sword forged. Took over a city. Asked the British why they wouldn't pay him tribute as the new head of their faith. Engaged in total war with the king. Applied pseudo-communist policies like abolishing private property. Separated women and men from ever interacting, and sent the women to the front lines. Over 20 million people died, with some estimates as high as 40 million. It was the 4th deadliest conflict in human history. It killed more people than WWI. Only WWII, transition of the Ming, and Qing conquest of the Ming were deadlier. Paddy Roy Bates, the founding king of Sealand, had his country, a small naval platform, invaded and his son Michael taken hostage by Dutch and German mercenaries. They came in riding jet skis, speedboats, and helicopters while he was in England buying groceries. He hired a helicopter, came down a rope with a shotgun, reconquered Sealand and took the mercenaries hostage. An official German diplomat was sent to negotiate the release of the ringleader. The Japanese kamikaze Divine Wind that saved the country from an amphibious invasion by the Mongolian hordes. The Mongols captured a foothold on some outlying Japanese islands and started to attack the mainland. The Japanese army pushed them back, and they had to retreat to China. When they did, a typhoon ravaged their navy and sank their ships. The Mongolians, probably reasonably, seeing this as a fluke, decided to rebuild and attack again. 7 years later. Unfortunately for them, the Japanese fortified their coastline. After basically months of sailing around seeking a place to land, another typhoon struck their fleet and destroyed them. There would be no third invasion. During the First World War, navies from different countries hired artists to paint crazy patterns on their ships in order to throw off the aim of enemy U-boats. Source: https://n.mwikipedia.org/wiki/dazzle_camouflage. Ted Bundy escaped from custody twice, the first by jumping out of a 3-story building, second time by taking a guard's outfit and walking out the front door. In 496 BC, the army of King Gauji in a view put 3 ranks of criminals in the front of their battle formation. Their task was to impress the enemy with their ferocity and commitment by chopping off their own heads as soon as battle was joined. The tactic was a success, while their opponents from the state of Wu were recovering from their astonishment they were overrun by the rest of the Yu army. The convicts, who were condemned men anyway, had been coerced by the threat that, if they didn't comply with this plan, their families would be executed also. Stephen Franke. I think cutting off one's own head is pretty unlikely, but they might have slit their own throats. The fire in Dublin, Ireland on June 18, 1875. A fire broke out and spread to a malt house, and the heat broke open every alcohol barrel and flooded the streets with it. The people of Dublin decides to drink the burning alcohol that is spreading in the streets, filled with litter and debris, and was literally on fire. 13 people died, not from the fire or smoke, but from alcohol poisoning they got from drinking the street whiskey. A Finnish soldier who managed to escape capture after losing his squad in a methed up hallucination. Being the doctor of the group, he was carrying the meth pills for the whole squad, and in order to survive and escape his pursuers he took the whole pill box, 30 pills, when the allowed dosage for a grown man was 1. He survived in the Soviet wilderness for 2 weeks, eating only pine butts and one time a Siberian jay that he caught and ate raw. When he was rescued he was 45 kilograms and had a resting heart rate of 200 BPM. Edit. Historical accuracy. Please read u/_Acura_s reply. Serial killer CarlSpencer broke into the home of former President William H. Taft and stole jewelry, bonds, and a gun. With the money he got from the first 2 he bought a yacht in which he used the gun to kill a bunch of sailors. Some guy in Australia decided he wanted to hunt rabbits, but rabbits don't live in Australia, so then he released like 12 in his backyard, and now there's a fuck ton of rabbits in Australia. Sky pirates. During World War I, German Zeppelins would board and search foreign ships, and the boarding party of the L-23 once captured the Norwegian 3-masted cargo schooner *ROYAL* by bluffing the crew with a flare gun after they accidentally dropped their machine gun into the sea while lowering from their airship. The town of Rothenburg ob der Tauber in Germany, one of the country's oldest and most preserved cities. Essentially, during the 30 Years' War, the Catholic army wanted to destroy the town because they resisted the church. Count von Tilly, sounds like a Monty Python name, was going to destroy the town, but as a gesture of peace the town offered him a mass, 3.25 L, of local wine. He declared that, if anyone in the town could drink the mass of wine in one go, he would spare the town and move on. Then someone just walked up and did it. So the army left. Much later, during World War II, when the US was performing air raids, someone in the White House knew of this town and pleaded that we do not destroy it. So it has been saved from 2 wars, all because one guy chugged a bunch of wine. Edit. Apparently there was some damage done in WWII, but I don't know if it was bombed. It's also not one of the oldest cities, but one of the most preserved. I just posted from memory from my German culture and history class in college. Thanks for the feedback. Jack https://n.mwikipedia.org/wiki/jack_baboon, a baboon who was employed to change rail signals. After initial skepticism, the railway decided to officially employ Jack once his job competency was verified. The baboon was paid 20 cents a day and a half bottle of beer each week. It is widely reported that in his 9 years of employment with the railroad, Jack never made a mistake. Return of Napoleon. An army was sent to intercept him, and they ended up fighting for him. If it was shown in a movie, most people would have considered it cheesy and unrealistic. When King Edward I was young, before he was king, he was a prisoner of Simon de Montfort during a civil war. During his captivity he asked to ride the horses at the castle, where he was being held. He proceeded to ride them one by one, tiring them all out. When it came to the last horse he mounted, bade his captors farewell and rode away. All of the other horses were too tired to give effective chase. The Great Stink of London in 1858. One summer the heat dried up the River Thames, where all the human waste went, and an unbearable smell pervaded throughout the entire city. All Parliament representatives were eventually coerced out of their homes outside of London to convene and solve the issue. Much to the citizens' glee, Parliament was held in their building on the bank of the River Thames, resulting in one of the fastest Parliament decisions ever made to reform the London sewer system. Edit. Grammar. In the 1800s there were street vendors in Egypt who sold ancient Egyptian mummies. Just lined them up on a street corner and sold them like they were umbrellas on a rainy day. English tourists would buy them to display as oddities. Vesna Vulović fell from a height of 10,160 meters and lived. She holds the world record for surviving the highest fall without a parachute